we have to have acceptance. We have to be seen. We have to be seen and accepted for who we are. Don't judge me by what somebody else did, because there are bad people in every freaking race. It ain't just Black people that's doing bad things. And stop thinking you better than me. And you have to acknowledge what your ancestors have done. You have to acknowledge what you have done as a person on both sides of the spectrum, Black people and white people. We have to acknowledge, we have to get uncomfortable to become comfortable. We have to talk about the things that make us uncomfortable. If you do something to me, I need to be able to tell you that you did this to me and it made me feel this way. And at the end of the day, if you did it, you need to be man enough to say, you know what, you're right, and I apologize. I'm sorry for doing X, Y, and Z.
Today's Monday, February 27th. Who are we speaking with?
Mama Stacy, the mother of the house community in San Francisco.
How did you get that name, Mother Stacy?
Mother Stacy was given to me by various DJs here in the city because I've always had this nurturing spirit of supporting and loving people.
That's fantastic. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in the Bay in San Mateo and grew up in East Palo Alto and been living in San Francisco for 30 plus years.
Wow. Tell us about, you've seen a lot of things. So you've seen the full transformation of Palo Alto. You've seen the full transformation of San Francisco. That's
Yes.
a whole other interview. That's a whole other like 8 hours conversation. Talk to me about growing up. What kind of music did you hear in the house growing up?
Oh my God, R&B, R&B gospel. I grew up with my grandmother because my mom died when I was 11 years old. So my grandma raised me. So I heard R&B, Aretha Franklin, Last Night in the Pips. But I remember the first record I bought was Marvin Gaye, Let's Get It On. My very first record, I'll never forget that. Just listening to the Ohio Players and the Barcades and Earth, Wind and Fire, that type of music. And I've always danced. Like we have family events. And my aunt would be like, go dance. And she'd give me $5. I was gonna dance anyway, but I'll take your $5. I don't have a problem with that. So yeah.
Wow. And then, how old were you when you bought that record?
Probably 9 or 10.
Wow.
Somewhere around there.
And then talk to us about the journey of sneaking out and going to clubs.
Oh my God. So I was probably 13, 14, and I have a sister who's a lesbian. And we would come to San Francisco. One family friend had a car, and we would all pile in this car, and we would come to San Francisco. And there was this club called Different Strokes on Polk in California. And it was Welfare Wednesdays, and you could get in for free. So I would sneak in with my shades on and get on the dance floor and wouldn't get off. Because if I got caught, I was gonna have to sit in the car. And my sister and them were older than me, and they'd be like, if you get caught, your ass sitting in the car, or you walking up and down the streets. But I never got caught. I danced, always danced.
Wow. Tell us about this party, Welfare Wednesdays. What was the crowd like? What was the music like? Where was the club located?
The club was located in San Francisco on Polk in California, and everybody Welfare Wednesday. So you had to have your jeans on. We wore our cowboy boots. It was the early 80s, late 70s, like 79, 80. And the music was basically top 40. You heard Donna Summers, you heard the Commodores, you heard the Barcades, you heard these songs, and everybody was dancing. I remember back then in the gay bars, men would have their shirts unbuttoned and they would have their little scarves tied around their necks, and we had our cowboy boots and we was doing our thing, and it was sweating, and it was just fun. The energy was fun, just to see a bunch of people dancing together and having a good time,
And you never got called by your grandma?
No. I remember as I got older and got into high school, I would go to clubs and come up to the city and party, and my grandma would say, your ass has been out partying all weekend, you get your ass up going to school on Monday. That was it. There was never this, you need to stay home. You just make sure you get up and go to school on Monday morning. That was her thing.
That's really, really progressive.
Yes. But she was easy going. She wasn't one of those grandmas that kept a lynch or a tie on you. She let you do what you need to do, but you had to take care of business.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then talk to us about the transition from Welfare Wednesdays. What was it? I guess you were kind of young, but what was the club scene like in San Francisco at that time?
I can only talk about that particular club because it was free and I could sneak in. But
Yes.
as I progressed a little, say 16, 17, and then 18, you had this club called the Palladium. And it was for 18 and over. So we could get in there. Now, this was a straight club. And me and my gay friends would come in there and turn the club out. Let's just put it that way. It was very straight, and they would play MC Hammer and, you know, all the top 40 music that was popular back in the day, Lips Incorporated, blah, blah, blah. That's when voguing first started in the 80s for us. And we would be in there dancing, and it was to the point to where we would go in there and pump the club up. We'd go in there dressed as boys and go in the bathroom and put on our sissy clothes and come out and turn. And the girls wouldn't want to dance with us, but we would also get put out because we would go in there and we would punk it up so hard. They'd be like, y'all doing too much and y'all gotta go. So then that's when we started dressing like boys and just come in and do our thing. It was what it was, because we didn't have a lot of bars for gays at 18 and over. So, you know, you had to sneak in or you had to have a fake ID.
Wow. Tell people the distinction between straight clubs and gay clubs back then and even today.
The distinction. So for me, so back in the 80s, the straight clubs were playing what we call high energy dance music. There was Cameron Paul was the DJ at Studio West, and they would play, that's when 12 inches became popular in the 80s. So they would play the top 40 songs, but it'd be an extended version of that song. So you get extra beats and stuff. And the straight clubs, the people didn't really, for me, I didn't think they partied hard enough. Whereas in the gay bars, we were letting loose. We were doing things that weren't normal in a club in terms of partying.
Like what?
Like voguing and laying on the floor, you know, things like that. We were dancing harder, and we were, I think, more creative then than our straight counterparts, at least the people I hung out with was, you know. But I think that with the times now, things have merged together, and people are, because I don't hang out in gay bars mostly anymore. I hang out in mixed clubs because of the fact, the music, I'm looking for house music, and then mostly gay bars, they're playing this high energy dance music, this techno that I can't really connect with. So I need to be in a club where a DJ understands why I'm there. I'm not there to stand around. I'm not there to be social. I'm there to get my groove on. And that's what it's about for me. So when I walk in the club, my energy is instantly known that I'm there. People are like, oh my God, here come Mama Stacy. She here, come on. Because they know what's just to happen. I'm just to perform. I'm not there to perform for them, I'm performing for me. But I'm there to get mines on.
I love that. What does house music mean to you?
Wow. House music means to me love, unity, understanding, release. House music is my drug. I'm clean and sober. I've been sober 25 years. I just celebrated 25 years, February 16th. So house music is my drug now. That, even though when I was in my addiction, drinking and acting crazy, I love the music still, but I love it even more now because I can remember the night, what happened the night before. Like I was out last night and I got it in, and I can remember everything that happened. Whereas when I was drinking, acting a fool, I'd be like, "Oh, how'd you get here? And how'd I get here?" Like in this sense. But house music to me is everything. It is the heartbeat of who I am. It makes me feel. It makes me live a certain way.
I love that. Then, how would you define Soulful House?
Wow. Soulful House to me is very deep. And it's one of those things where I like vocals. So I want to be able to sing while I'm dancing. I want to be able to scream and shout. And that's what Soulful House does for me. It makes me want to scream and shout.
That's fantastic. Tell us about the current state of the San Francisco club and house scene.
Current state. So can I just take you back a little bit and then bring you to current?
That's perfect.
So in the early 90s, we had parties and the club stayed open till 6 in the morning. you know, and one club would close and you'd leave there and you'd go somewhere else. That was happening in the early 90s. And then as we got into the 2000s, somebody got in the office and changed the rules of the game. And now the clubs close at 3, the clubs close at 4, the clubs close at 2. And that has changed the way the party scene happens here, the way the scene happens. You have our players in terms of DJs that are playing these music and doing these events, but then right when the club get good, it's closed. You got to go home. I'm like, this sucks. So then you start these things called the after hours, where you have these underground parties that you have to know somebody to get to this party. But I feel like the scene today, it's still vibrant, it's still alive. And some of the main players that you've seen from back in the day are still here playing in the game. But then you have the newbies who come into the scene that don't understand the scene, that are there standing around or playing hacky sack. I walked in a club one night and they were playing hacky sack on the dance floor. It's like, how the fuck is this happening in a club? But we have to teach them, or we have to run them out the way. Because I'm there for one reason, and that is to dance and to get my groove on. And Saturday night, we were at the Great Northern. It used to be called Mighty. Somebody bought it, changed the name. Now it sounds like you're going hunting, the Great Northern. But there was a party there, and there was this crew came in town from LA called Utopia. And we getting our groove on, and back in the day, we didn't have ciphers the way that we have ciphers now. People dance. Where I come from, we just dance. Now all of a sudden there's this thing called a cipher where you have to take one person goes in, another person comes out, and so on and so forth. We exchange it, we're having a good time. But sometimes you just got to remember you're there to dance. Just go dance, go release.
Is there a proper way to dance to house music?
I think that everybody feels the music differently. Because I sometimes will look at people like, the fuck are they going through? But then I had to remember that the music, everybody interprets it differently. And there's a certain way that I would dance to a certain house song versus what someone else may be doing. But I'm also not the type of dancer that wants to follow the trend and do the same dance that everybody else is doing. I like to mix dance together and create my own dance, because I think that makes you a dancer. Not because you're taking a class from somebody and you come in and you do the dance exactly the way it was taught to you in that dance class. Then you're just a carbon copy of the person who taught you the dance. It doesn't become yours until you add something to it, whether that be a twist, a turn, a dip. If you don't add something to it, it's not yours.
That's facts. New York has some iconic clubs that shaped its history, from the Gallery to the Loft to the Paradise Garage to Zanzibar and beyond. That's New York. Tell us about the clubs that shaped and influenced San Francisco club history.
All right, well, let's start from the back and come forward. So we have the EndUp. The EndUp is an iconic club in San Francisco. Has been around since 1976. And I remember sneaking in that club when I was in high school. That club, if you come to town and you ask the person that works at the hotel, where do I need to go? They tell you go to the EndUp. Because you could go to the EndUp at 3 PM on a Sunday and it's jam-packed, people out on the patio, people dancing, Bougie's playing, David Harness is playing, people sweating, having a good time. It's open air. You got a line outside of the club at 3 PM, people waiting to get in. So that was one of the clubs. And that club is still here, but it ain't the same. Because when ownership changes, the demographic of the club changes, The EndUp was known for being a gritty place and you can go there and you can groove. It's not the same anymore. We hardly ever go there unless somebody has come to town that's worth going to hear. We don't really go to the EndUp. At least I don't. Let's talk about the Sound Factory here. Peter Vila was the resident DJ at the Sound Factory in the 90s, and you would walk into the Sound Factory, line be down the street, just like the Sound Factory in New York City, line would be down the street. And they threw theme parties there. There was nature, there was balls in this particular club, and the energy would be so high because back then people dressed up to go to the club. And I'm not talking about dress up in a suit and tie. I'm talking about in the 90s, we lived like we were in the 70s. So it was kind of like this whole club kid era, but it wasn't to the extreme that New York was doing it. We wasn't dressing up, with blood on us and all these other things, but we were living in the 90s, but dressing like we were from the 70s. That was a major club. Then we had Lyft on Wednesday nights. We had Lyft, no, that was Thursday nights. Lyft, which was also another fabulous club here in the city where people just came out. That's when it started, Thursday night. And we would party all the way up until Sunday night. You had, 177 Townsend, you had Universe. David Harness, Ruben Mancias, we had the Pleasure Dome. This was big, huge warehouse clubs where, there was 2,000 people in a club partying. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. And that's so sad because when you go to Europe, you see these huge, humongous clubs and people are living in these clubs and they're living for the music. And that is so freaking amazing. And then you had Carefree and the Love Garage and Toontown. Toontown was a party that you walked into the gift center and outside was all these carnival rides, but then you go inside and you got this massive ass stage with DJs playing and the music is then just thousands of people having a good time. We don't have that no more. That's what's missing. That's what's missing. That is what's missing.
In New York, bottle service, Mayor Giuliani and rising rents shifted the club scene. What impacted the club scene in San Francisco?
That very thing. Bottle service. The EndUp was, like I say, a gritty place. Now they have bottle service. What the fuck is this? Then you have this person showing up in her cheap dress and her cheap shoes, and you're in the way, just standing on the dance floor with a fucking cocktail in a champagne glass. What is that? That shifted it. The rising rent shifted it here as well, but also the tech boom shifted it. Because now you have these techie people coming into the scene that don't understand. Those are the people that were playing hacky sack in the club, but they don't understand the difference between I'm at work and I'm here at a club and let me party. They don't know how to separate the two. And that ruined it. And then COVID came and then that really messed up everything. That shut everything down. And now things are starting to pick up. But like I said, everything closes at 2, 3 o'clock now. So we don't have that extra, that extra that you need. There's a lot of day parties. I don't know if you knew, like when you were here, if you got to attend some of the day parties, but there are a lot of day parties that happen here in the city. And they're fun. They're exciting. You're outside in the sun, you're having a good time. But I'm a night hawk. I like to be out at night.
I went to a couple of day parties and I'm not really a dancer, full disclosure.
Okay.
But I'm really a photographer, but I like to feel the music. I couldn't get my life at the day parties. It was always like bubbling, but it never really popped off.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was just shifting. And I was like, this is cute, but I'm kind of over it.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks of San Francisco as a big city, but in my opinion, it's not a big city. It's more like a small town.
Yeah.
I also feel that San Francisco is a misnomer. It's really 3 cities in close proximity: Oakland, San Francisco, and San Jose. Compare and contrast the club scenes in those cities.
So before I started to live in San Francisco, I lived in Oakland. Oakland, we had Silks, which was a straight club, and we would go in there and turn it out. But that was, again, top 40 music was being played, but it was a really nice club. The decor of the club was nice. It was beautiful. Then we had Cable's Reef and Bellinopolis. Now, these 2 bars are on Telegraph in the 90s and the 2000s, and they were small little clubs, but they were gay and they were Black. And this is where we hung out. We hung out on Telegraph and 23rd, that's where it was. Bella's and Cables. And if the music wasn't good in Bella's, we'd walk down to Cables and we'd go back and forth throughout the night. And San Jose, not so much. Clubs, no. When I lived in San Jose as well, we only had Estee, well, it wasn't Estee Noches, that was in San Francisco. What was the club? something Adams or Army or something on First Street in San Jose back in the day, very small. And there was mostly house parties. We would come to San Francisco to get our parties on. Now, the difference between the three cities is Oakland was predominantly Black, and we all hung out, and that's what we did. I didn't have a car at the time, but I knew about the clubs in the city. So there was a bus that used to leave at 2 o'clock, 2:15, going across the bridge from Oakland to San Francisco. Me and my friend Michelle Miss Hoo McPherson would catch the bus to the city because we knew that we gonna party all night and we could take Bart back on Sunday morning. San Jose just didn't happen. We used to leave San Jose to get to San Francisco, or go to Oakland. We would go to San Jose to skate though, to King Little.
Yes.
Back in the day, we'd go there to skate. But other than that, it wasn't really, the clubs didn't know. There was no clubs.
What's it like to be Black and gay in San Francisco?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm gonna tell you from my own experience. I ain't gonna talk from other Black man's experience, but I am unseen here, okay?
Ooh, unpack that, please.
Oh, I will. Castro District is not catering to me. There's no bars in the Castro that I go to and hang out, even though I don't drink, but I'm saying even if I did drink, I wouldn't hang out in those bars because there was a time when Black men would go to these bars and they were carded, while the white queens and the Asian queens could just walk up in the bar and not be carded, but we would be carded and stopped, right? You walk into these bars and they don't see me. I am unseen in that community. Rarely do you see a Black man and a white man together. Rarely do you see a Black man and an Asian man together. The Castro is not catering to my Black brothers and sisters. And there's one bar that they started to do something monthly where they were having a Black night. I'm like, really? So we going back to this? There's a segregated night, right? This is the night you can come and you're gonna feel comfortable, it's gonna be okay. No, I don't think that. I live in a city where I'm supposed to be the gay capital of the world, but as a Black man, I'm not seen in it. I'm not seen in it. They don't see me. That's just real talk. And any bitch to tell you, oh yeah, I love the Castro. No, bitch. No. Let's keep it real.
How do we fix that?
How do we fix that? We have to have acceptance. We have to be seen. We have to be seen and accepted for who we are. Don't judge me by what somebody else did, because there are bad people in every freaking race. It ain't just Black people that's doing bad things. And stop thinking you better than me. And you have to acknowledge what your ancestors have done. You have to acknowledge what you have done as a person on both sides of the spectrum, Black people and white people. We have to acknowledge, we have to get uncomfortable to become comfortable. We have to talk about the things that make us uncomfortable. If you do something to me, I need to be able to tell you that you did this to me and it made me feel this way. And at the end of the day, if you did it, you need to be man enough to say, you know what, you're right, and I apologize. I'm sorry for doing X, Y, and Z. Period.
That's real talk. Tell us about the Amsterdam dance event.
Oh my God. So I had heard about this event before and I had never been, and I kept saying, oh, I think I want to go. I think I want to go. And I found out my good friend David Harness was going, and I was like, David's gonna be there. You know what, fuck it, I'm going to Amsterdam. So I make all the plans, and I had never been out of the country by myself. I've been out of the country with friends, but I was like, I'm gonna do this by myself. I packed it up, got there, checked into the hotel, and immediately I started walking the city because I don't want to go to sleep, but I started walking the city. And I think the first party I went to, Manny Ward was there because Manny's a good friend of mine as well. Manny Ward was gonna be there, Quentin was gonna be there, Alternate was gonna be there, all these different DJs, Patrick Wilson from here in the Bay. And I went to this party, this industry party. It was David Harness and all these people, Alternate and this guy, Jason, I can't remember his last name, but he sings house music. But David got me on the list, got me at this party. And I'm seeing all these people who make house music, Alternate, and we dance and having a good time. And I'm in like, oh, like, fuck, like all of these people who I listen to and look up to from hearing their music on the dance floor. And now I'm in the same room with them. And then that night, later that night, I go to this party at this club called YOLO. And I go to a party that Louis Vega was playing at the W Hotel. Benny Soto was hosting that party. Went to this party and got it in there, left there, went to YOLO. And Quentin Harris was playing Alternate. Crystal Waters was there. And I remember Alternate playing her song. And she says, by the way, Crystal Waters is here. And I kept looking at her like, I know this woman from somewhere, but I couldn't put two and two together. And when she said Crystal Waters, I'm like, that's who the fuck that is. And I went over to her and I said, excuse me. I said, you probably don't remember me. I said, well, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, you were in San Francisco and you performed for David Harness at his pool pride party, Mighty Real. I go, I was the guy that danced back up for you. She said, I was watching you. She said, I knew you knew what she was doing when I seen you put that powder on the floor. That right there was awesome. But then for security to stop me and keep saying, who are you? I'm like, who am I? I'm like, I'm just Stacy. Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from the US. And he goes, you have to be a celebrity. The way you dance, I've never seen people dance like that before. And I'm like, dude, I'm just a dancer. I'm just, he goes, you don't want nobody to know who you are. That's why you won't tell me. Like, I just told you who I am. I told you, my name is Stacey, call me Mama. That's it. I'm just a dancer. And he's like, wow, I just never seen nobody get down the way you get down. And I was like, oh, thank you. That means the world to me. Because if somebody else enjoys my dance, it makes me feel even better. But I can remember being, while we're in Amsterdam, Manny and Quentin and Ted Patterson was playing at this other club. I think it was called The Web. And I went to meet them at The Web and I walked in and it was a gay bar, cool. But then it was like a daddy bar. They had all these men with leather on and I'm like, oh shit, how are they gonna receive me in here, right? So I'm like, I'm here to get my groove on, I don't give a damn. So they play and I start dancing. And the owner of the club, I didn't know who he was, but he's sitting there and he's watching me and somebody calls me over and he says, hey, come here. I'm like, yeah, what's up? And Manny want to introduce me to this guy and he introduces me and the guy goes, I just want to thank you for being here. You brought so much energy to this club. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. He says, can you come back next year? But that type of shit is freaking amazing. But just being there and walking through that city and seeing in the stores, they're all connected to, if you're here for ADE, you can get a discount for this. Just show your ADE pass. And walking in the record store and Louis Vega's playing all this freaking cool ass music and people are lined up trying to get in just to hear or even to see and get a taste of what's happening. That city is on fire when that event happens. If you ever get a chance to go there, go to ADE, Amsterdam's dance event. It is fucking amazing.
Mm. Oh, and tell us the story you said about when you were with David Harness or whatever, and they were telling Benny Soto about you.
Okay, so it was my birthday, and we were having dinner, and Benny Soto, David and Teddy is talking, and they're like telling Benny Soto, this one right here, it goes, if there is a party, and if this one ain't at the party, it ain't no party. So then we go, after dinner, we go to the W Hotel, where Benny Soto is hosting this party with Louis Vega. David Harness and them, they go about their business. I'm here to get my dance on. I don't know what I'm coming to do. Instantly, I get rid of that coat and I let into it. Benny Soto comes by and he goes, oh, okay, I see. See what's happening here, you know? And me, I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just trying to live. I'm 57 years old. I'm just trying to get it in as much as I can. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to enjoy me and enjoy life. Because I met a man skating one night. This man said he was 65 years old. He said, if you love something, you're doing something you love, don't ever stop doing it because you'll get old. And I was like, wow, that really resonated with me. That's powerful. I'm going to keep doing it as long as these knees will allow it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Describe the moment, that moment when the DJ plays the right song at the right time of the night and you're getting your life. What does that feel like?
Wow. I can tell you, I sometimes will scream. I will scream and the music gets so deep. I'm like pushing bitches out my way. Like, honey, you in the wrong space right now. And what happens for me is I get so lost in the music sometimes I just forget. Ain't nobody there, it's just me. I can remember a night Osunlade was playing at Mighty / the Great Northern, and it was probably 3 o'clock in the morning, and the dance floor kind of cleared out, and he played this song that kept saying, "The Black Messiah is here. The Black Messiah is here." And I had never heard this song. And that fucking song took me to a place that I had never been before. It had me rolling on the floor and falling out, and this girl named Laura that I know was standing back watching. I didn't know she was watching me, but she was watching. And later she goes, "Mama, I've never seen you let loose like that. What happened?" I go, "That song took me somewhere." Later on, I saw Osunlade outside and I said, "Hey, that motherfucking song you just played took me to a place I'd never been before. Thank you for playing that." That like that, a moment like that is amazing. I also want to share that I had, before that situation happened, I had met Osunlade at a party. I was getting my life and he was standing in the corner watching. And I went over to him and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Osunlade, my name is Mama Stacy." And he goes, "I'm watching you kill that dance floor." And I go, "I just want to know when you coming back and play for me." And he goes, "I'll be back in September." And that was the night, that September, when he played that Black Messiah song. And ever since then, me and him have been close. We've been cool. It's my boy. But that right there, when a DJ takes me to a place that makes me scream and shout, I'm gonna show out. I'm gonna fucking show out.
Talk to people about the importance of baby powder.
Oh, I'm the baby powder queen. I am Miss Baby Powder. I cannot go in a party unless I got my powder in my pocket. It's got to be with me, right? Now, powder is a privilege, and you must know how to use it. I'm going to say that. And the importance of the baby powder for me is it makes the floor like wax. You can slide, you can glide on this. But if you put too much, you can break your goddamn neck. Let's just keep it real. You can break your damn neck. But it is important, just as important as the DJ. It is just as important as the space you're in. It is one of the necessities that you must have if you're in a house club and you understand what this is about, what the movement is about, what the music is about, what the people are about. You can't come in here shuffling. You got to come in here and get your motherfucking groove on. You got to come and you got to leave it on the floor. Powder is important. It is the key. It is one of the most important parts. It is the element, one of the elements of house. It is one of the elements of house.
What are the other elements of house?
A good dance floor, good music, good people, right? And really, really great space. For me, those are my elements when it comes in a baby powder, those things. Those make a party, right? DJ. But also, I'm gonna say this about DJs. DJs know how to read the room. And if you don't know how to read a room, honey, you ain't a DJ. Because if you playing music and people ain't dancing, something's wrong with what you playing. Take a moment, step back, and remember to pay attention to what's happening on your floor. Because if you don't pay attention to what's happening on your floor, you're gonna lose your crew. You're gonna lose the people's attention. And I am the one, I am straight honest. I won't mention his name, but I'll tell you this. I have told a DJ that he wasn't doing his job. Because he kept coming out on the floor, listening and looking. And I'm like, honey, when you gonna play some real music? And he said, you can't say that to me, I'm a DJ. And I said, honey, listen, you ain't a DJ. Like I just said, if you can't read the room and you can see people ain't dancing, you ain't DJing. Anybody can put a label on their back and say they're a DJ. I can say I'm a DJ. I don't know shit about DJing. But I do know this, if you can't make me dance, you didn't do your job. If you ever see me sitting in a club like this, somebody ain't doing what they need to do. And people will come up to me and tell me, I ain't never seen you sit down. You all right? So I'm like, yeah, DJ ain't going where I want to go. So, you know, but I don't sit down. I'm there to get my groove on. So it's important to be honest with DJs.
Talk to me about fashion. How important or unimportant is fashion in nightlife?
I'm going to say that in the 90s, it was really important to be dressed up and look fabulous and come to the club and have a good time. As you got into the 2000s, we are more about some tennis shoes, some jeans, and a sweatshirt or a t-shirt, because we're going to dance if you're a dancer. So people don't really dress up in the Bay anymore as much to go to the club. We go to the club in some, like I say, some jeans, some ripped up jeans, because we know we're going to scuzz out. We are going to get our life on the dance floor. So I'm not trying to wear my Rick Owens to the dance floor. Now, if I'm just going stand around look pretty, then that's a different thing. But if I know that I'm supposed to go get my fucking life on this dance floor, I'm not wearing anything good. I'm gonna put on some tennis shoes and some jeans and a friggin' sweatshirt, and I'm going to get my fucking life, because that's what I came for.
If someone were to come to San Francisco now over the next month or so, where would you tell them to go, and what DJs would you tell them to check out?
I would tell them to check out Cody Koflo Fiera. They throw a party. He doesn't have like a residency, but he plays, like this weekend, he's playing with Osunlade, JV Velasco, and they're playing at a place called The Foundry. Mm-hmm. That's this Saturday. David Harness on March the 18th will be at Cafe Denard. He is one of the Bay Area's legends. He's plays at the EndUp. He's played at the EndUp. He's played Universe. He's played all these different parties throughout the city. You also have the Salted Crew, Julius Papp and them. Who else would I say to go see here in the Bay? Let's see, I have my list of DJs.
Or even Oakland too.
Oakland. Oh my God. So you have the Elements Crew. I forgot about my Elements family. The Elements Crew, Patrick Wilson, Nina Soul, and P Soul, Paul P Soul. They throw a monthly party in Oakland called Elements. You can find them on Instagram. Deep, soulful Afro house. Just, oh, yes. If you really want to live and you want to get into your blackness, those your people. Those your people. You know, those people give love. You know, Nina Soul is a force, is an experience. As a woman, as a female DJ, killing the game, killing it. Give her all the credit. She's awesome. We have a lot of monthly parties here that happen throughout. There's like no real club that I go to every Saturday night that I used to go to, like back in the day in the 90s. I was like, Friday night, Sound Factory. Saturday night, the EndUp. Sunday morning, the EndUp. You know, I had all these places I could go to, 1015 Folsom. I could go over here, you know, the F8. I could go to this place or that place. Well, we don't have that anymore. Like I say, somebody got into the office and changed all the game, and rent and all those different things changed the club scene here. So now it's just monthly parties. So you're checking out Eventbrite, and, you know, if you don't know somebody, like I say, David Harness is one of my dear friends. So I'm constantly connected to wherever he's going, wherever he's playing, you know? DJs send me information. Hey, Mama Stacy, can you be at this party? We got you on the list. We want you to be a part of this. Because they know I'm coming in to set it on fire. I ain't coming to play, I come to dance. There's not a lot of places that I can say, ooh, go here all the time. This is gonna be popping. There's Halcyon, which is a really great club. But like I say, there's no resident DJ. Something's always happening. It's techno, it's house one night, it changes. You know, that's the sad part about the city, is there's no residencies for DJs anymore like it used to be.
Talk to us about, since the clubs at San Francisco close at 2, how has that changed what time you go out and when the party peaks?
So we got 2 a.m., 3 a.m.s, sometime 4. So if party's gonna be ending at 2, I went to a party Saturday night. The party I was talking about, Utopia, was ending at 2. I went out at 10:30. I was like, oh, let's go see what's gonna happen. Plus, my friend JV was playing. He was part of throwing this party. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go, because I thought that he was gonna play first since it was his party and the other people were the guest DJs. But when I got there, the guest DJs were already playing. It was a group of 4 people that was tag teaming. which was cool. And they had an MC, which was cool. So I got there and I was like, okay, it's not that crowded here, but I'm gonna get in this corner and I'm gonna get my baby powder. And I got to grooving and that happened. And probably about 12:45 is when it started to really feel like I was in a club. It got more crowded and people were living and the music had gotten better, you know? So I think that's when the recipe changed at about 12:30, 12:45. That's when it probably peaked. Now, if the club is closing at about 3, I probably won't get there till 11:30, 11:45, just depending on how I feel. Because I only need 2.5, 3 hours tops, you know, to get it in if it's gonna be fire. It also depends on who's playing.
Mm-hmm.
If David's doing an all-night set, I can get there at 12. I can get there at 11:30 because I know he's gonna be going in about that time, you know. Or I could get there early because he's gonna go in from beginning to end, just depending on what's happening the next day. Am I going to work? Am I sleeping in? That depends. I think that if the club is closing, if you're doing a late night, like we used to do, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, I ain't getting to the club till 12:30, 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
That's when Tony Humphries is getting ready to go there, you know?
Yes.
Getting ready to go there, you know? Louis Vega's getting ready to go there. We used to have this party in Oakland called the People's Party that it was at this place on San Pablo. And it was very Afrocentric, but it was very gritty. And that's the type of party I like. I like a gritty party where ain't nobody dressed up, but we know what we all here for. And it's for everybody. That type of thing, you know, where you look at it like, wow, this place is grimy, but we just to get our life up in here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you come out and you're soaking wet. I remember I used to take an extra change of clothes with me to the club. I don't have to do that no more, not as much, but I remember that used to happen. Yeah, good times.
What advice would you give to the next generation of clubbers?
I would say know what you're coming to the club for. Stay safe, stay sober, and dance. Come to the club to dance. Do not come to the club to be in the way. If you ain't coming to get your groove on, stay the hell home. Stay your ass at home. Like, stay at home. You know, stay home. Do what's most important in the club. Dance. Shake your groove thing. You know what you're coming there for. Because a lot of times people can come, I'm sorry I'm dragging this on, but a lot of times people come to the club and not know what they're there for.
What do you mean by that? Explain that.
In the Cypher, we got the Cypher and we are really like feeding energy off of each other.
Explain to people what a Cypher is.
So a Cypher is a circle where various dancers go in and out and exchange with one another. And sometimes you'll get this person that knows nothing about it and we're exchanging. And when you exchange, one person is in the circle, in the center of that Cypher doing their thing. You're supposed to allow them to finish. Then you get out, and then someone else comes in. I don't know what happened there. What happened? Oh, here we go. Sorry, somebody tried to call in.
Mm-hmm.
So one person comes in, another one goes out, but then you'll have this person that runs in there that doesn't know what's happening and just think that, oh, I'm a part of this. No, you're in here for the wrong reasons. You're in here for the wrong reasons and you need to back up. So that's what a Cypher is. A Cypher is a circle where people exchange. And sometimes we forget. Like I'll sometimes will forget myself that I can just go to the club and dance without going in the Cypher. I can just go over here and dance. And sometimes I forget that and let's go hang out in the Cypher all night. I'm like, oh, let me just leave this alone for a while. Somebody had to remind me of that.
What is your intention when you dance?
My intention is to release the stress of the day, whatever's been happening throughout the week. I come to the club to dance and release all that shit that I was carrying, all the stress, and to have joy, you know, and to see my friends. When I dance, I love to see my friends that are dancers as well, that say, come on, let's go, get that shit, you know? Just letting go. That's why I dance, is to let go of everything. I don't think about shit when I'm dancing. I just dance.
Those are the questions that I have. The last question is, what's next?
So I was just want to say, what's next? So I put out a record. And
talk about that. I didn't know you were an artist.
I didn't know either. So I put out a record with Cody Kofo Ferreira. It's called Stress Relief, the Mama Stacy Bold Down Mix. That record has been getting a lot of play. Ash Lauren has played it. Olsen Lottie's played it. Man, to hear my voice on a dance floor, I'm in a club and I hear my voice and I'm like, holy shit, that's me. You know, that right there is freaking power. And people are running up to me, go, oh my God, I heard your record, it's fucking amazing. And I'm just like, oh, thanks. I don't sing. I'm more or less spoken or talking over the track. But there's an a cappella version coming out soon. The record's on Spotify, it's on Apple Music. It's fucking fire. It is. It's a beautiful song. And I just want to say that I'm looking forward to doing more, like putting more stuff out there and just continuing to dance, you know?
Awesome. Everybody who's listening, go check out the link record. DM me the link, and then I'll put the link in when they take those.
Def.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Great chatting with you.
Peace and love.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You as well.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.